This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours, 55 minutes, 40 seconds, and counting. Launch teams are not working any issues right now that would prevent us from launching on time tomorrow morning at 6:21 a.m. Eastern. Weather remains at 80% chance of favorable weather for a launch tomorrow. Tanking of the external tanks 535,000 gallons of super cold liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen began at 9:28 p.m. The process takes about 3 hours. Liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen are in the fast fill stage that began at 10:18 p.m. During their 13-day mission, Discovery's 7 astronauts will deliver about 17,000 pounds of supplies and equipment to the International Space Station, including new sleeping quarters and science racks that will be transferred to the station's laboratories. Discovery will launch from Launch Pad 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The fixed service structure is on the north side of the pad's concrete hardstand. It's 247 feet high to the top of the structure and 347 feet high to the lightning mast. The fixed service structure has 3 service arms, one being the astronaut's walkway, called the Orbiter Access Arm. The arm swings out to the shuttle's hatch. At the end of the arm is the white room where the astronauts enter the shuttle's hatch. The arm is at the fixed service structure's 147-foot level, and if need be, can move away from the vehicle in about 15 seconds. The rotating surface structure is a protective structure for the shuttle and allows access to the vehicle's cargo bay. The rotating surface structure was moved away from Discovery this morning in preparation for tomorrow's launch at 6:21 a.m. Eastern Time. Again, launch teams are not working any issues right now that would prevent us from launching on time tomorrow morning. At T-minus 3 hours, 53 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. This is Shuttle T-minus 3 hours, 10 minutes, 55 seconds and counting. The count will enter a 2.5-hour built-in hold in just under 15 minutes at the T-minus 3 hour mark. Teams began filling Discovery's 535,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen into its tank at 9:28 this evening. It takes about 3 hours to fill the tank. Liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen are in the fast fill stage that began at 10:18. Launch teams are not working any issues right now that would prevent us from launching on time at 6:21 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. Forecasts are still at 80% chance of good weather for tomorrow morning's launch. During the 13-day mission, Discovery's 7 astronauts will deliver about 17,000 pounds of supplies and equipment to the International Space Station. This includes new sleeping quarters and science racks that will be transferred to the station's laboratories. Managers and engineers are directing and monitoring Discovery's countdown on Kennedy's Launch Pad 39A from about 3.5 miles away in Firing Room 4 in the Launch Control Center. At T-minus 3 hours, 9 minutes, 40 seconds and counting, this is Shuttle Launch Control. This is Shuttle Launch Control. Discovery's countdown will enter a 2.5-hour planned hold in 3, 2, 1, T-minus 3 hours and holding. We're approximately 2.5 hours into the 3-hour fueling process for Discovery's external tank. Launch teams are not working any issues right now that would prevent us from launching on time at 6:21 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning. The forecast is still calling for an 80% chance of good weather for the launch. At T-minus 3 hours and holding, this is Shuttle Launch Control. This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. The launch team has now completed the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen filling of the external fuel tank for Space Shuttle Discovery's STS-131 launch at 6:21 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, and have given the word to send out the final inspection team, or known as the ICE team, and the closeout crew. With me now is NASA Test Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson to discuss how things went during tanking.
Well, thank you, Kendria. It's good to be here. Our tanking operations were very nominal tonight. We had no issues at all, and it was pretty much per the timeline once we got started. We were about 30 minutes late getting into our tanking operations this evening. We had a little bit of an issue that we were looking at on fuel cell number 2. We saw on the pump motor condition, we saw a little bit of a shift in voltage, certainly within our limits of our launch commit criteria, but we wanted to take a little bit of time while we still had an ASP in the crew module and do actuate some switches associated with adjustments of lighting in the crew module, just to see if that had any effect.
Okay, and an ASP is an astronaut support personnel, and they're there to assist the astronauts and do configuration of the crew module, right?
Yes, Kendra, that's correct.
Okay. And so the additional data was collected, and tanking started about 30 minutes late, but it's gone very, very well since then.
Yes, ma'am, it has gone very well. We didn't have any issues, and again, got a little bit late start, but the operations went very well. We didn't have any anomalies or any issues during the tanking itself. We wrapped it up just a little bit ago, and we just cleared the closeout crew and the final inspection.
This is Shuttle Launch Control. We are now taking live pictures of Discovery's astronauts in the crew quarters at the operations checkout building as they are getting into their orange launch and entry suits and preparing for their trip out to the pad. That's pilot Jim Dutton being assisted with his orange Aces suit, getting the gloves on. Mission Specialist 1, Rick Mastracchio, looking at ease, confident, and ready to fly today. And Clay Anderson, Mission Specialist number 5, a veteran of a long-duration space station flight, getting ready for his mission. He'll be one of 2 spacewalkers along with Rick Mastracchio on STS-131. Mission Specialist number 3, Stephanie Wilson. She's a veteran of 2 space flights, STS-121 and STS-120. Thumbs up, she's ready to go. And our Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut, Naoko Yamazaki. A big wave for the cameras and a thumbs up. She's one of 3 Discovery women astronauts who will be joining a female aboard the International Space Station. There's Dottie Metcalf-Lindenberger. She's Mission Specialist number 2, making her first space flight. She's a former high school science teacher turned astronaut, and she looks very excited. Commander Alan Poindexter, and the crew is very nearly ready to begin their walkout to Launch Pad 39A, where Space Shuttle Discovery stands illuminated by xenon light